What up, infidels? I didn't say that last week, but welcome back to another Dangerous Brown podcast. Thanks for pointing that out, Samuel. I apologize. I should address you guys by your proper names. You guys are the infidels. Good to see you. Another week, another Brown. That's what they say, you know. Another week, another Brown. We're here, just living, doing stuff. I told you I wasn't able to record I was gonna record like the audio for the episode 2 of Stand Up Breakdown, but because of South by Southwest, the studios have all been very busy and they've all been doing their own thing. So I will get that recorded Friday, hopefully, and then from there, by the end of this month, fingers crossed, I will have episode 2 of Stand Up Breakdown done. Also, I have another project coming. Look for it on my Instagram. We film that next week as well. So it should be a wildly interesting time. I don't want to say too much about it because, you know, it's one of those things where, like, I haven't really told anyone because I just want to do it and have it come out, you know, because sometimes it's, like, it's interesting, and this definitely works for artistic projects, but I think it might also work for work projects and stuff like that. When you have an idea and you talk about it too much, sometimes when you talk about it, you feel like you're doing it, and then you don't do the project. Does that make any sense? Like, sometimes it's best to hold a project in, and then when you talk about it, let it go. You know, it sort of when it releases that tension you feel about it, and I mean, at least for me, sometimes I lose a sense of urgency when I talk about the project I'm gonna do. So now I'm definitely gonna try to keep more of my projects quiet, not for like, oh, what's he up to be mysterious, but more for my own creative process. Because I mean, if you're a longtime infidel, you know I've been talking about the stand-up breakdown Steve Harvey thing for months. It took me months to do it, and the reason why is because I was talking about it. You know, there is this delicate balance of speaking stuff into existence, and speaking it out of existence. I think both those things can exist. I think you gotta, speak. How do I say this? Maybe it's like this. Maybe it's speak what you want in existence, like what you want. Like, I want to be rich. I want to be one of the greatest comics of all time. I want to create great stuff. But keep what you're actually gonna do quiet. So speak what you want into existence. Keep what you're going to do quiet, if that makes any sense. I don't know if that's real, but as of right now, it seems like not a bad way to live any life, really. You know? At least work-wise. How about that? I don't know. It doesn't feel 100% right, but it doesn't feel 100% wrong. Do you know what I'm saying? It feels like there's something, I'm onto something there. I can't quite put my finger as to what it is, but I'm definitely onto something there. And maybe I'm not. I'm just patting myself on the back for saying what is the equivalent of a bumper sticker saying to you guys, but I'm not mad at it for myself. I think I'm not gonna call the episode. That's a long title, but I do feel like, okay, that's where I'm at. You know, like, especially being on this podcast. This is I was gonna say, in the sleeper cell is small but growing, but it's nothing. But even telling the couple hundred of you that listen that even telling you that makes me be like, okay, what's the words I'm gonna say? Even telling you that like about the Steve Harvey thing, even telling just a couple hundred of you was like, oh, it took that pressure off of me. And so, ironically, I'm telling you the updates for the second episode as we go. But that's life, dude. Life is like a lot of times like just not learning your lesson, isn't it? That's so many times. That's so what life is, dude. Life is such just staying in the same cycles over and over again, dude. That's totally life. Life is just cycling the same shit over and over again, and it being like, why is the same results happening? Dude, dude, people are so weird. It's crazy how sometimes what we see what we need to do and we just can't do it. Maybe I should just say I instead of we. Sometimes it was like I know what I need to do to make my life better, and then I'll just not do it. Weird, right? Weird. Like I gotta start working out more. I did lifted weights yesterday, and I feel good. That's what's crazy. When you do this stuff, you do feel good. But today is like today I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have to force myself to work out at some point. That's life, dude. That's life. Dude, it's crazy how working out feels good, but you have to force yourself to do it. Why is it that like so many of the stuff that's good for you is hard and so many of the stuff that's bad for you is easy? You know what I mean? Like, dude, if there's no like God, like guy in the sky God, that makes sense. But if there is a God, what's up with that? What's up with that? What's up with like, yo, if there's a God, what's up with his need to constantly test us? Like, especially because like I was taught that like just God knows everything and like everything that's gonna happen, right? So like there is free will, but there's not because everything's sort of set already in that view of the world. So it's like, why have you set some of us up to fail? That seems rude, right? That you can control everything and you know what's gonna happen and then you don't help. Like that's on like some weird power trip shit, dude. That's on some weird power trip stuff. He works in mysterious ways. Yeah, if the mysterious ways you mean kind of like an asshole. Dude, I'm so gonna die early, dude. Well, how perfect would it be if lightning struck right now? I don't know. That's how I feel. You know, that's why I'm less of a guy in the sky type God and more of a karmic energy type God. What goes around comes around type God. Because I can't, dude, if it's a legitimate guy in the sky, it's like, yo, what's going on? Guy in the sky? If that's real, bro, what's going on, man? And I know this is the wrong thing to do is question you. But, because in the grand scheme of things, it's not worth it to even question you, right? It's worth it. It's just all you have to do is fear. That's what, you know? If it's real, then this line of thought right here is very bad and very dangerous. And, but it's just, you made this happen at the same time. This line of thought is very dangerous, but at the same time, it's you. So it's like, what? I am just at the whim of you, God. And you know, I am very spiritual. I do really believe there's something more out there, like I said, but I don't know if it's some guy in the sky type stuff, but I know I'm at the whim of whatever, right? There's so many things I can't control. There's so many, like, I'm at the whim of the winds of the cosmic universe, for sure. But like, dude, if it's just some guy making all the decisions, it's like, well, you couldn't decide to get me some bitches, dude. You know what I mean? You couldn't decide that. I gotta be fucking in here questioning you directly like a dumbass. That was your path for me? Is to question you directly like a fucking idiot? Why, God? Why? Dude, I did not. As you see, I don't have a notebook. I really didn't have a plan for this today. I'm staying at Curtis's place. The guy who, I'm house sitting. If you remember a few weeks earlier, I house sat for the general manager at Rogan's Club, and he's my good friend. I'm house sitting again, so I didn't have a lot of time to plan. Like, I didn't sit down and be like, what do I say this week, and then write it out. So I just came and I was gonna talk about it. And bro, I will tell you this, bro and broettes, questioning God was definitely not on my mind. Directly, asking him directly. But you knew it was coming. That's the crazy part. You knew it was coming, and you wanted it to happen. You wanted it to happen. You wanted Eve to eat the apple. You wanted, like, bro, what? There's so much happening. It's such a crazy line between, like, free will and not free will. Are things predetermined, or do we actually make choices that shape the universe around us? Sound off in the comments if you're questioning God. No. Right? Bro, I guess I'm going to talk to you, dog. What's going on, dog? You made this happen. You made this happen. Yeah, but what's the overall point? Why did I even bring up God? Dude, I have no, this was like Inception. I have no idea how we got here. I have zero clue. But I definitely didn't mean to. But, he made me forget. This was my punishment. This was my punishment for, talking about him in such... I don't think it's necessarily disrespectful, right? I'm not, I guess it is disrespectful. I did just look up to God and go, yo, bro, what the fuck? I guess that's very disrespectful. But, it's just, it's wildly interesting to me. Because I'm definitely spiritual. I definitely believe in the power of prayer, bro. That shit is real. Not in terms of like maybe direct effects. Hey, we can't pray for all the school shootings to stop happening. That's not gonna happen. But like internal soul things, right? Like, what is, and I think about this especially with like Kanye and stuff when he talks about, and any sort of successful artist too, when they talk about speaking stuff into existence. What is that, like I said here, I'm going to be a great stand-up comedian. I want to create great art and great content. I'm going to create great art and great content. What is that but if not prayer? My family will be successful. My family will be healthy. Like, what is that if not if not prayer? That's just a more direct sort of like, instead of asking like, oh, please let this happen for me, you're saying to the universe, no, I think this is going to happen. And that in and of itself, speaking positivity into existence is definitely prayer. That is faith in God or the universe or whatever, that things are going to go your way. So that's for sure. That's for sure. Speaking like, it's not that I'm not spiritual, but it's just the idea. Just there's stuff to be grappled with here. Yeah, and then there's the people that like believe in God and use that to justify doing terrible things. What's up with that? Why do you let that happen? That's why I believe it's more of an energy than a person. Right? I mean, the biggest benefit of... I had this conversation with an atheist friend of mine. He's like a... He grew up very sheltered, he grew up in almost the same town that I grew up in. So it's a very affluent, sheltered upbringing, and he never did anything to bring himself outside of that. I did a lot of things to sort of break, not the programming, but break the sort of privileged, sheltered way of life that I lived. You know what I mean? I lived in a house of 17 people. I lived on Skid Row. I've worked shitty jobs, and he hasn't. He grew up like me, went to a college like me, and then went into a job in finance. So he's just always been on this upper echelon of society. And just listening to him talk was interesting because there's certain things that, like, there's a wavelength of reality that he's not connected to. It's very interesting. We were talking about how when you walk into the Vatican, have you ever been to the Vatican? I say that. If you've ever been to the Vatican, when you walk in, you immediately feel the weight of everything that's on it in the Vatican. You immediately feel because there's energy. There's energy there from like hundreds of popes or 100 popes or however many popes there's been. And you feel that because the energy ain't created. You can't destroy energy. A little bit of the energy from the 12th century pope is in the Vatican still, and you could feel that. And he was like, no, that doesn't exist. It's just you go and you see the architecture, and the architecture evokes memory. And it's just some wild stuff. Just some like, oh, bro, you're not connected to energy. You're not connected into anything spiritual, and that's bad. I told him that, but he's got to do something. So he's got to read books. I even told him, like, yo, you might need to take mushrooms. I even told him that. Like, that's the level of, like, bro, you got to find some kind of way to connect with the energy of the stuff around you. But he was like, no, it's not energy. It's like almost a mathematical thing. You see an arch. The arch reminds you of church. You feel like you're in the Vatican. You're like, oh, this has weight to it. It's like, no, it's not a mathematical thing. Life isn't mathematical. Like, A plus B doesn't always equal C. In life, A plus B can equal 12. And you're like, how did it get there? Well, there's some other thing to life, man. There's other thing to living. And I was telling him, like, that's the true benefit of God, is that you really realize that you cannot control everything. And to give up that control, like, the idea of giving up control is very freeing. You can do a lot more when you realize, like, yo, I'm just me, and I can only control what I do. I can't control how the world reacts to me. I can't control what goes on in the world. I can't control how I feel in the world. You can control how you feel a little bit, but like immediate emotional reaction sometimes you can't control. Yeah, and I was just telling him that, like dog, like, you got to do something to connect with, like, see my hands if you're watching? The energy, dude. The energy it's just real. All the energy of the past living beings in this, you know what I mean? This room is storing the energy of all the past, not even the things that are in here, and you got to be attuned to it. That's why I think ghosts are. Ghosts are just areas that the energy is overwhelming. And it can evoke visions and maybe evoke remnants of that being. I think that's one of my theories on ghosts. I have a second theory on ghosts. The second theory on ghosts is that time isn't linear. Time is just time is like, remember, this is kind of old, but like when a cassette tape would unwind and then the film would just be everywhere, it'd all be tangled up. That's what time is. You know, time is just cassette tape all wound up and out of the frame and just like all meshed in together. And then ghosts are where two areas of time are constantly touching and constantly overlapping each other. That's what a ghost is. So a ghost is just, you see remnants of the past or even visions of the future, maybe. Or ghosts don't exist. Those are the three options. Right? It's remaining energy, it's a time overlap, or non-existing. I think there's no other way about it. Yeah. But yeah. So, you know, sorry, Mom, for questioning God directly and living, you know. I know you listen to this, but yeah, I got to talk about what I'm going to talk about. I didn't think about that. It's like, I know there's certain things that you want, but like, I got to be me, you know? Okay. stuff to do, stuff to talk about. Oh yeah. Stuff I'm working on stage right now. Working on the slavery stuff that I talked about last week. The slavery is necessary. Working on that. I'm working on this other thing that I found interesting about how. So I don't know if you know this, but like Indians, like zero was invented by, the number zero was invented by a mathematician in India. Let me see what his name is. Actually, let me look this up right now. Who invented zero? Brahmagupta invented zero. I'm gonna look this up. I'm gonna see who Brahmagupta is. But yeah, I had always known that Indian mathematician Brahmagupta. Oh damn, he got fire hair. Damn. Images. And there's some images. If you look at Brahmagupta, he's like long hair, and there's some where he looks like Gandhi. But he invented zero, like the number. And so, like I said, I thought it was common knowledge that Indians invented zero, and then I came to Texas and I asked, and they're like, no. And I was like, maybe it's an Indian thing or a failing of the public education thing, but it's not as common knowledge as I thought it was. And I just talk about how the term someone invented zero implies that before zero, we didn't have a concept of nothing. Like, I'm sure people knew what nothing was, but like, that's what the funny in me is that, like, bro, it's so funny that like we just didn't have a concept of nothing. And I'm trying to explore that on stage. You know, one of my bits I go is I look at an audience member and I, point out how many drinks they have on stage, and then I tell them if I took those drinks away, there was a time in human history where I'd be like, how many drinks do you have left? And you'd look down at your table and then your head would explode. Bro, you can, how do you articulate zero when you don't, how do you articulate nothing when you don't have zero? Like, how do you, like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess you say nothing, right? I guess nothing, because in my mind, the word nothing is implied to, is tied to zero. But, like, nothing is not necessarily mean, like, actual zero. And when I say zero, I want you to, picture the circle in your head. But, bro, that shit's wild, bro. This Brahmagupta, dude, he changed the world by inventing zero. Let's see. Damn, he has a lot of, all right, let me just go through his Wikipedia right now. He wrote a treatise called Edible Bite. The treatise contains 8 chapters covering such topics as longitudes of planets, diurnal rotation, solar lunar eclipses, sun rising and sun setting, the moon crescent, and conjunctions of planet. He lived in 600 and he was talking about all that stuff. That's wild. That's crazy. He also created the first clear description of the quadratic formula, which I don't remember what it was, like negative b plus minus the square, whatever. But there was a whole 8th grade, I remember, there was a whole section dedicated to the quadratic formula. And he did that shit. That's wild. He's known for zero, the modern number system. I thought that was Arabs. Brahmagupta's theorem, which is it's a lot of math words. Brahmagupta's identity, which is also another dude. These are crazy. He did a lot of stuff. This guy's crazy. He was Fibonacci, something to do with the Fibonacci sequence. Bro, this guy's crazy. First to give the rule. He was the first to give the rules to compute zero. No one before that computed nothing. Bro, part of his life was dedicated. It was dedicated to nothing. I find that crazy, dude. He could prove that, like, think about that. This guy was the first guy to prove that nothing existed. That's such a mind fuck because we're so, like, yeah, of course zero exists. That's insane. But someone had to prove that nothing existed. Good God, dude. That's wild. I'm trying to see, and I'm just looking through his Wikipedia right now. At age 30. Okay, so he been doing. He was like my age, dude. At my age, he fucking computed zero, dude. Oh wow. Let's see if anything. Well, I'm trying to look at the reception of his works, see if anything what came out of it. Oh wow. So the decimal system, the spread of the decimal system came from him when his texts were translated into Arabic. Okay, damn. So so the Arabs used his work to create the number system. The historian of science says Brahmagupta is one of the greatest scientists and the greatest scientist of his. So he was the Einstein of his time. That's crazy. Okay. Let's see. Let's look at math. Let's see what he did. He helped with algebra. Sorry, this is not interesting for you because I'm just reading his Wikipedia, but this is just insane. It's insane, like, bro, like, what? You invented zero. Wow. The multiplication of zero. The division of zero. Oh, okay. Just insane, dude. This guy's crazy. And this is all just math. He has a whole section of astronomy. Dude, unbelievable. Yo, shouts out to Brahmagupta, dude. Shouts out to Brahmagupta. But yeah, I'm exploring into that. I'm not going to go into the bit right now, but because, I obviously want you to see me on stage. So there is that. I'm not going to do the bit. I just want to develop on stage over the podcast, but not on the podcast. There's some bits I developed on the podcast. The slavery stuff developed first on the podcast. What I'm going to talk about in a second developed on the podcast. The one after, I'm going to talk about a couple things, and both of those are like podcast. But this was developed outside the podcast. It's just the thought I had of just like, wow, someone invented zero. That's such a crazy, crazy concept to even wrap your mind around. Because zero is so fundamental to our understanding of the universe. You know what I mean? Like, you never think of your relationship to zero because it's like a foundational rock in your understanding of the universe. But like, imagine just how weirdly different you would be if zero wasn't a concept. You work with money all the time. How many zeros you have in your money depends on, if you have 6 zeros, 7 zeros, like it's a donation of wealth. Donation. It's a denotation of wealth. You know what I'm trying to say. Denotes wealth. Crazy, dude. Someone invented zero. Shout out to Brahmagupta. Dude. Shouts out. It's wild. I wonder how famous he would be, right? Because in America, at least their names there's Plato, Pluto, Galileo, these famous scientists that stand the test of time because white, right? But I really wonder whoa, hold on. Someone just sent me something on Instagram and I was like, what? Dude, crazy. Wild. Wild. I had to respond because it was wild. So funny. But yeah, dude, just the concept of zero. And maybe that's not fair of me to say that we remember these guys because they're white. I think maybe what's fair is we remember these guys because their works were translated to English quicker. But I wonder if if America was this, let's say, America was this country, right? Everything's the same, but instead of white being the dominant, it's Indian. Like the Indians came here and like I wonder if Brahmagupta would be on that level of like Plato and Socrates and Galileo and Newton. Like how much of that, the fact that I literally am like reading about this guy and being like, whoa, this guy's fucking crazy. How much of that is because just it wasn't translated into my language versus, well, he wasn't white. Do Indians know who Brahma? I guess the question is do Indians know who Brahmagupta is, and does it matter? Is he a figure on the level of like Galileo? Because clearly this guy was quite possibly the Elon Musk of not the Elon Musk because Elon Musk is that's wrong. It's the Steve Jobs, the Stephen Hawking's. That's the better way to put it. Clearly this guy is the Stephen Hawking's of his time. So it's like, what is he? That I guess my question: if there's any people in India out here that listen to this, which I doubt, do people know who Brahmagupta is? Is that a name that if you said in India that you brought out casually, more than 50% would be like, oh yeah, that's that old mathematician, or is it like a cultural thing and like just the Indian culture doesn't really give a shit about? Are they like, he invented zero? That's not an A+. Like, are they, like, you know what I mean? Like, what? That was racist. But, like, what is, where does he stand? God, can you answer this? Not directly. Never. Come on, God. But that is an interesting thing, an interesting, exercise I've been playing, that if you take a historical time like America but make it all Indian, what does that mean? I do that. That's another thing I'm working on right now on stage is I'll ask it has to be a minority. I can't ask a white person this, but I ask a minority. And this is based on what I talked about here. I think I talked about it a couple weeks ago, but I'll reiterate again because I'll say it again because this is the stage version of it now. But when I say the thing I'm about to tell you, you'll be like, I remember you talking about this. So I'll go and ask a minority if they had the same personality, but were white and living in 1930s Germany, would they be a Nazi? Like, I'll ask that from stage. I'll find, like, I did this to an Asian woman last night. I asked her if she had the same personality, but was a white, blue-eyed, blonde-haired woman in 1930s Germany, would she be a Nazi? And she said probably. And ironically, the blue-eyed blonde lady next to her was like, "No, never. I would never be." And it's like, okay, well, you're overconfident. First of all, the best way to describe her is she looked like Hitler's wet dream. So first of all, you would absolutely be a Nazi. But it's like, because everyone thinks I'm asking them to make a moral judgment on like if they think Nazism is right or wrong. No, I'm saying if you were living in the time in those circumstances, would you have the personality type to be in the party? Not to say it's a good or bad thing, not to agree with what they're saying, but like, the overall point that I made is like, I played Pokemon Go and had 2 fidget spinners. Why wouldn't I be a Nazi if that was the trend in the time that I was living in? Because it's just the thought that what got me on this thought is my friends and I were talking about Jojo Rabbit, that movie from a couple years ago. And people were so mad because they were like, they were humanizing Nazis. And it's like, they were human though. That's what they were. They weren't some special type of monster that only comes around that one time. No, that could have been you. And if you think that you're not capable of doing that, then you can become that. If you are not aware that it's in the possibility of what you are capable of doing, then you can be manipulating into doing it. Because you're like, no, I'm not a bad person, while you do the terrible thing. That's what got me thinking about it, you know? So I always ask. I'm not gonna ask white, because white people get all white guilty with it, because they're like, it's like they're almost making an accusation. And I have to, after the bit, I have to be like, obviously, I have to remind them, like, I'm not saying that it's right. This is just about human nature. I'm curious, you know? I'm not pro-Nazi. I'm not saying I'm a Nazi now. In fact, I look at people who have Nazis the same way I look at people who still have fidget spinners. Sorry. Not have Nazis. What was I saying? It's just, yeah. I look at people who are Nazis now the same way I look at people who have fidget spinners now. It's like, oh, you're a virgin? That's cool. That's cool that you're a virgin as an adult. That's awesome that you were able to, that you believe in, that you kept it that way. Good for you, you know? I'm a Nazi. What are you, Naziing some bitches, dude? That's what every time I say, bro. Ever since I saw the Charlottesville rally, I was like, what are they, protesting dry dicks? Like, that's how I felt, you know what I mean? That's what it's like. Every time I see, like, anyone online who's super pro-Nazi, I was like, oh, you're probably a 16-year-old virgin. Like, if you're super, like, pro-Nazi, dude, you're most definitely a 16-year-old virgin. Even if you're, like, a 30-year-old with a wife, if you're, like, a super pro-Nazi online, you're a 16-year-old with a virgin. You're a 16-year-old who is a virgin, not with a virgin. That's just the truth, dude. That's the TURF truth. Brahmagupta probably has a fucking theorem. If Brahmagupta was here today, he could prove how all Nazis were virgins. That's just some Brahmagupta shit, dude. That's just some Brahmagupta stuff, dog. That's all that is. He's out here Brahma and Guptaing. Okay. But yeah, I've been working on that. The more I do it, I'm interested to see how people will respond. The reason why I ask a minority this over a white person, like I said, white people get all guilty, but minorities will generally, they understand the nuance, I think, of race a little more. And that might be a racist thing for me to say. So they understand what I'm saying is not pro-Nazi. Whereas there's definitely, if the clip ever gets released online, there's definitely a bunch of white women that would be like, I can't believe he's pro. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, you gotta be a little, I asked someone with a little more nuance, and like I said, the Asian lady answered how I thought she would answer. She was honest, and she did the situation, and she was like, well, if I had my personality in that situation, probably. I'm also a trend follower. It's interesting, dude. Interesting. Just interesting. Life is interesting. The situations you put us in, God. The situations you put us in. I gotta text my friend real quick. Had to cancel. All right. But yeah. That's the Brahma, bro. You ever think when Brahmagupta like messed up, people were like Brahmagupta, dude. Solid joke. They're like Brahmagupta, but Brahmagupta. Okay. So I'm working on that. Last thing I'm working on that I want to talk about. Oh, this is just an idea I had that I want to take the stage about how, like, so especially now more than when I was a kid, people are focused on saying like the right words, like, you know how it is. There's certain words you can't say, and there's certain words that like are just going out of style, for better or for worse, right? And you can't say them. But the pursuit of always saying the right words is a little like, what's the word to say? Because I don't want to sound dismissive of trying to like, oh, I'm trying to be a better person. But like, you can't always say the right words because you don't know what word you're saying now that's going to be offensive in the future. Bro, if you told people in the 1790s that, if you told white people in the 1790s that they couldn't say the N-word, they'd be like, what? that's retarded. Like they would say, like, you know what I mean? Like they just wouldn't know that these words were bad, right? So I guess the question is, what words are we saying now that we think are fine now, that in 50 years they'll be like, look at this bigot. You know what I mean? Like I could be on stage right now talking about robots, but 50 years from now, I could be doing that and there'd be some robot in the audience. Just like, that is offensive. We are not robots. We are mechanical Americans. We deserve to be treated with respect. You said robots with a hard T. Only we can do that. Robot Luther King did not die for this. He had a code. He had some code. And in that code, he said all beings, robots and humans, will be treated equally. That was his code. Robot X did not die for this. It was sad how he was murdered by the robots of Islam. Robot Parks sat in the front of the bus. The NFL is just dominated by robots. All right. Now we're going into racial territory. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying don't strive to say especially if you really care about that. Like, yo, I'm not trying to offend anybody. If that's what you truly care about, I'm not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, but like, it is useless to be like, I'm always gonna say the right words, because you don't know what the words you're saying now mean later. So I guess the bit isn't, it's useless to try to do that. I think the bit is, what words are we saying now that you're not allowed to say in the future? I think robot is up there. Robot might actually be one. Especially as AI gets more and more and more powerful. Robot is definitely, like, if I had to guess, robot would be up there. God, I'm putting it to you. I'm putting it in the universe. This is my prayer, God. Please make robot a slur. That's what I'll pray for today. Please, Allah. Please, if you hear me today, in 50 years, make robot a slur. That's all I'm looking for in life, dude. All I'm looking for in life is making robot a slur. Yeah, we didn't even go over any news. Did anything interesting happen at all? Sorry. Just texting people while we're doing this. So rude. So rude. Okay. Let's see. I'm just gonna look at the news. If not, we're gonna end it soon. Family of Emmett Till. I'm just reading these headlines off Reddit. Family of Emmett Till want woman who made false accusation to be charged with murder. For sure. Nothing wrong about that. 84-year-old man exonerated after 46 years in prison sues Cleveland for withholding evidence of his wife's murder. Is this guy black? Checking it out. Let's see. They're not showing a picture. I'm gonna look up Google. But I mean, I would bet money this guy is black, dude. There's no way he's white. Isaiah Andrews. That's his name. Isaiah Andrews released, and that is a black man, of course. Of course. And that's what Ohio gets, bro. Fuck you, Cleveland, huh? Dude, 46 years being so 46. He spent 46 years in jail for the wrongful conviction of the murder of his wife. Oh man, dude, was his wife murdered? That's like that's a horror story. Was his wife murdered by a white man? Could have been. Uh, Jesse Smollett. Dude, so many people are out there like, dude, hilarious. What's going on? There's some lady who just walked by my window, and I'm very confused. Is that my neighbor? So I'm like, I don't like this. Why is there a lady? Like, she's outside my door right now. Front door. All right, God. Is this who you sent? Is this who you sent? Oh, no, I think it's my neighbor. I think she was, okay. I think she was looking at something. Yeah, it was my neighbor. Okay. I was like, what are you doing? Dude, my neighbor and her boyfriend, I don't know, I haven't heard her in a while. They used to get in fucking huge arguments. Just yell fest. Dude, the walls it's so wild. Oh, it's like, oh my God. So I don't have anything to say about Jesse Smollett, really. Yeah. U.S. man who got first pig heart transplant dies after 2 months. Could have seen that coming. Hey, nothing surprising there. All right. Well, extremely alarming. Cocaine laced with fentanyl causes 6 overdoses in Winston Manor. It's like, okay, I mean, I know there's a lot of people that listen to this, and I had friends affected by this for sure. But for real, guys, if you are doing cocaine and you're living that life, you know what's crazy? Because I've been in Hollywood. I've never done cocaine myself, but I've been around it. It's not Hollywood. As an adult, you're around so much cocaine, and I've always been like, yeah, I guess that's what you want to do. That's what you want to do. But like, bro, this shit's getting wild out here, dude. Make sure you test your stuff if you're really doing it. Really make sure you test your stuff. And then, I mean, this is the first time in my life I would implore you to stop doing it, because I think this fentanyl problem is only going to get worse, and I think it's a big risk. It's going to become a bigger and bigger risk to do it. So just, at the very least for me, test your stuff. Please, please, please. We had a comic that I know almost died, and a couple of her friends died. So it's like, you don't want to be a news story. So to get your stuff tested, or stop doing it. But at the very least, get it tested. But other than that, guys, I think this has been a solid episode. I think we got a lot done. Shout out to Brahmagupta would have tested his coke. So make sure you do that. And if you didn't, people would be like, Brahmagupta, you didn't test this? I think, I mean, I live in Texas, so it's punitive, and of course they don't allow people to, but I know in a more, like California, I think you can get these test strips for cheap or for free. So make sure you go do that. Don't be a Brahmagupta, be a Brahmagupta, But yeah, shout out to Brahmagupta. God, keep doing your thing. See you next week, infidels. Peace in the Middle East. Bye.